Right now we go to the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. Kendall Rogers from D1 Baseball, D1Baseball.com. I've been telling you all season long, if you're not a subscriber at D1 Baseball, you've been missing out. That goes doubly or maybe even triply as we go toward the postseason. There's so much great content, regional previews, and lots of other stuff. Hello, Kendall.
How's it going, brother?
Good, man. Really good. Let's start today with Southern Miss. They went on the road last weekend to Lafayette, lost 2 of 3. Really, really competitive series in those first 2 games, and Game 3 was a bit of a blowout. They've got Coastal coming in this weekend. What is the level of concern that Southern Miss fans should have after losing series 2 out of the last 3 weeks and looking at what they have remaining?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely they're in the danger zone. I mean, I think if you look at, Southern Miss's RPI right now, the conference record's fine. I think when you look at the Sun Belt and the fact that that's a really good league, but I mean, overall, you're talking about a team, right now their RPI is sitting in, the 46 right now as a Sun Belt team. You either want to have a really good conference record with that kind of RPI, which, wink, wink, Louisiana, they kind of fit that mold. Sitting at 46 and, 12-9 in the league, they're going to need to finish strong to get in. The problem with Southern Miss is I just feel like this team overall, they've just been so up and down. We're 3 weeks away from the regular season being over, and I'm not entirely sure what this team is going into the postseason, even if they make it. So, on one hand, they could surprise us a little bit. On the other, it could be a really quick exit even if they get in. But as of right now, they're very much on the bubble. We would have them in this week. We'll have them in tomorrow. But it is not by the clear margin that it was, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. So can't afford. They need a strong finish. They need to win a series against Coastal this weekend. They need to win the series against Arkansas State, and a win against Ole Miss in the midweek in that last week going into the final weekend would be big as well.
No, for sure. Even though Ole Miss, frankly, isn't very good, they're still a really good RPI team. And the other thing is that if you can win the series against Arkansas State and Coastal, I think I feel pretty good about their chances at that point. Obviously, you don't want to go to the Sun Belt tournament and just, play horrible. But I think if you won both of those series, I think they're looking pretty good at that point.
Have the messages "Are we going to host" started yet from the Mississippi State Twitterati?
They would never do such a thing. I will say this: I will be the person that gets the discussion started. I think Mississippi State hosts, and here's why. I think if you look at Mississippi State right now at 12-9 in the conference, they're 28 in the RPI, so they've got some work to do, right? But they get Ole Miss tonight. They've got series remaining that I feel like they have a pretty good shot to win. I think they can win Alabama at home. Although that's a really tough series. I really, really like Alabama's lineup, top to bottom. I think they can win 2 out of 3 in that one. I think they'll win 2 out of 3 against Missouri. That gets us to 16 wins in conference. I'll tell you what, if they can win 1 at Arkansas and play decent in Hoover, again, I think this team's hosting if they do that. That to me, that is the magic number. If they can get to Hoover with 17 conference wins, I think they'll play decent enough in Hoover to warrant being a host site.
If they beat Ole Miss in the Governor's Cup in Jackson tomorrow night, how does that win get classified? Is that a conference win?
That is a conference win. So, I'm glad you brought that up. So, yes,
thanks.
If they won 2 out of 3, won 2 out of 3, and lost 2 out of 3 against Arkansas, but beat Ole Miss tonight, they would be at 18 conference wins going in to Hoover. At that point, they would probably very likely be a host going into Hoover, and at that point, they would either have to play bad or someone would have to take it from them at that point.
If that ends up happening, should we be having a conversation about Chris Lemonis in the National Coach of the Year conversation?
I wouldn't go that far, but, this goes back to the conversation you and I had, and I think it might have been the end of February, that this is college baseball. Let's let the season play out. Did things look really bleak for Mississippi State at one point? Absolutely. But you know what? To Chris's credit, they I felt like it's funny. I felt like the A&M weekend, even though they lost 2 out of 3, they probably played A&M about as tough as anyone in the country has outside of Florida that one weekend in Gainesville. And ever since that A&M series, this is a team that's played with a ton of confidence. And I give the credit to that coaching staff, and frankly, I give a lot of credit to Justin Parker as well. They picked him up from South Carolina in the offseason. They lose Nate Dome. That could have been a crippling injury. But guess what? Cal Steven has really, really stepped up for him. Durangelo has obviously taken a big step forward, et cetera. So Justin Parker's done a really nice job. But, yeah, right now, man, I would have Mississippi State hosting if things go exactly the way I think they're going to go. But watch out for Alabama this week. And Rob Vaughn is a really sneaky, very good team.
They got some guys that can swing it too. I mean, there
is no easy out in that lineup. There really is not.
And they don't get cheated at the plate. So I did their game against South Carolina, or one of them, earlier this year, and then saw them in person a couple of times this weekend. And I'm just struck by, their approach at the plate is very, very aggressive. And when they make up their mind to go after a pitch, they talk a lot about strike zone discipline and other buzzwords that they've got. They go after pitches. They don't get cheated.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. And the other thing I like about him too, we talk about Justin LeBron and Gage Miller, but Matt Gassetti, the Florida transfer, hasn't exactly been known for his bat. But man, he's really hit the ball well the last few weeks. He was especially against A&M a couple weeks ago and again last weekend. But yeah, they're really dangerous. The big key for them: can they get enough pitching to take 2 or 3 from State on the road? I don't think so. I think they're too inconsistent, but you never know.
So up the road a bit in Oxford, things are not going particularly well. I kind of feel like we need to. They are 7-14 in the league. They have 9 games remaining. We talked about this yesterday. Yeah, there's a path to the postseason, but there's nothing that you've seen from Ole Miss in terms of consistency or playing well for 2, 3, 4 games in a row to make you believe that they can navigate that road.
I would agree. I think Auburn on the road this weekend, I think those are 2 teams battling kind of similar demons. So I think in that kind of series, I think you have to favor the home team. I hope they pitch a little bit better when they play A&M, because that could be very ugly. And then they go to LSU, a team that's going to have to win that series. So the problem is, if you're Ole Miss, you would almost prefer at this point to play somebody who, like Kentucky or something, like who has nothing to lose. Or I guess every team in the SEC has something to lose. But like, you look at the final 3 weekends, Auburn is trying to get to Hoover. A&M is number 1 in the country. LSU really needs to win. Southern Miss really needs to win. So they're playing teams, maybe other than A&M, they're playing teams that really, really need to win. So they're going to have to elevate their game. I think we'll find out what they're really made of. I was really disappointed, frankly. I'll be honest with you. I watched a little bit, snips and bits of the Alabama series, and I was honestly floored at how bad they looked at times. Like, this is a team fighting for their postseason life, and they were playing lifeless. They were playing sloppy, and it was. I'll just say it was shocking for a team that needs wins.
And the crazy thing is, and this goes back to what we were talking about, consistency. They played very poorly in the first game. They played very poorly in the third game. Ole Miss played a really good game in the middle game of that series, but they haven't been able to do that 3 times or even 2 times over the course of most weekends.
Well, you know what it tells me? It tells me it's one of those teams that really needs everything to kind of go their way to play really well. What I mean by that, if they get down early, or they get punched hard early, and I'm not calling them soft or anything like that, but confidence is fleeting, right? And when you lose it, you lose it. And I just kind of feel like it's one of these teams that just really needs to get off to a good start in games. If they do, I think they're fine. If they don't, I think they're just a club that's really, really difficult to kind of claw back outside of that Mississippi State game. What was it, that Saturday game where they kind of came back and won that? But outside of that, it just seems like they've got to get off to a really good start to have a good weekend. But, yeah, the next 3 weekends, they don't have a choice. They're going to have to win all 3 of those series or sweep one of those series, and I don't really see that happening.
Who's going to win the East? Who's going to win the West?
I'm going to go with A&M in the West, and I'm going to go with Tennessee in the East. I think Tennessee's a better team than Kentucky, and I think A&M, for my money right now, is the best team in the West. I think they pitch well enough, and then their offense is just relentless. The fact that they were down 9-0 in the first inning and they run-rolled Georgia, it's like we talked about last week. When, A&M is one of those teams that you have to play excellent baseball to beat every single day of the weekend. And if you don't do that, you won't beat them. Mississippi State, I thought, actually played a great series against A&M, and somehow you look back and they lost 2 out of 3.
I feel like you were listening to me. Like I asked you last week about Tennessee and making a run and finishing up on top in the East, and you're like, I don't know. And now here we are a week later, and you're picking them.
Yeah, I'll go with the Vols. Kentucky getting run ruled by South Carolina has a little like ringer going off in my ear. I don't like the sound of that. I just kind of wonder if they're losing a little bit of steam here at the end, because they were playing over their skis a little bit there for about the first 3 months of the season.
Altogether possible. Kendall, always